Barbecue tastes much better after a win than what you guys eat in Philadelphia.
Yeah, whatever they have up there is not good.
Well, it was horse.
That is a great point.
Kind of like the Mavericks, right? We're going to talk about horse here, right?
Yes. Now, I hope you understand where I'm going with this, and it will depend largely on if Kyrie Irving stays and how the ensuing years go. But do you see some of the parallels between the KP trade and the Kyrie Irving trade from a standpoint of it was risky, but they felt like it was something they needed to do from a talent perspective, and the mesh just hasn't gone as well as anticipated? Even though the Kyrie, it's really early. I get that.
I can see that side of it. At that point, the Mavericks didn't have to take that big of a risk. And the weird thing was, if you really go back in history, there's articles on this. I'm sorry I don't have it off the top of my head. It might have been from The Athletic about 6 months ago about how cheap Mark Cuban was. Yeah. I won't say he is now. He is spending, I believe, the 5th most money on a team this year. But in 2018-19, when Luka was a rookie, he had choices. That was the most important year of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban chose every wrong move you could possibly make. It didn't look wrong at the time. So there's part of me that I'm like, I can't completely blame Mark Cuban. I thought the Porzingis trade was a good trade. It looks like it's going to end up being not only a bad trade, but a horrible trade, because you're probably about to give the 11th or 12th pick over to the New York Knicks this year as part of it. But the one thing that I want to get to is in the article, he decided, I want to be a non-tax paying team.
Yeah.
So then when you traded for a horrible contract in Tim Hardaway Jr., you knew you're about to have to max out Porzingis. At that point, he could have said, I'm keeping Harrison Barnes. I'm going to stay over the cap. In fact, before I sign Porzingis, I can do this thing where, remember when, I know this gets a little bit technical, remember when Houston was like, not only can we sign all these players, we can bring back Chandler Parsons because we can go way over the cap.
Yeah.
We can just not sign him first and then go over the cap and bring him back. And the Mavs had to put a kind of poison pill stuff in the deal to make sure that Houston wouldn't bring him back. Mark Cuban at that point decided, I am not going to pay luxury tax. In fact, I'm going to dump Harrison Barnes for nothing. I'm going to not bring in any type of free agent because it will take us into luxury tax. So those decisions on Porzingis and the Dallas Mavericks' future were horrible and are now destroying the Dallas Mavericks. So it's one of those things in 2019, Mark Cuban, we didn't know at the time, made financial decisions to really hurt the Porzingis trade even more.
I do want to say the other thing that bothers me, I definitely think Mark Cuban is the overarching problem in this idea, is I put a little blame on Rick Carlisle as well for messing up the way they were tanking. Because remember, the year they got Luka, they even had to trade a pick to end up getting Luka in the year where they were tanking properly. And then they were like, you know what, but we still need to go win some games for no particular reason. And that caught the
culture.
Yeah.
That was so silly.
Yeah.
I here's my problem with the parallel, though.
Okay.
Kyrie's not a problem right now. I mean, unless you think that missing time is a problem, but
He's
KP
missed
was
50% of the games he's been.
KP was definitely a problem. Like there was something not working with the two of them.
And also, I think they're not winning was the parallel, but you think it's more perpendicular.
And I guess the other. Yes, I appreciate what you just did there. More of a loop, if you will.
Okay.
Loop 9 barbecue.
In Grand Prairie here. Come see us. It's unbelievable.
It feels like the one thing that's very similar is Luka, and neither one of those guys worked well with Luka, and I don't know why, and I don't know what like. Here's the thing I don't know.
We only know
who's going to work well with
We only
Luka.
know through secondhand sources that Kyrie isn't enjoying playing with Luka. Now, it's been a very short amount of games. Hell, 5 games? Have they even played 5 games together? They haven't played a game together in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they've only played in a short amount of games. And
like 4?
And it just goes to, if you take out this season, because his number is going to go up, Kyrie averages 33 games played a year. Out of 82 games, Kyrie, the last 3 years, has averaged 33 games. He's going to up that number to about 38 games a year over his last 4 years. In 82 games, he averages less than half of the games played in an NBA season. So I think it will go up in the next few years. He could have another major injury or whatever. But the thing that I'm worried about, Kevin, and maybe we're not going here, is I am afraid that the LA Lakers are going to move forward and go, we're not going to go with a big 3. We're going to go with a big 2, LeBron and Anthony Davis, and have a whole bunch of nice role players, because it seems to be working out more than us trying to force a third player in there. Second of all, I think that Kyrie is going to do this. He's going to say, you know what? I'm not going to go sign with a team I don't want to play with or in a rebuilding thing. I'll sign with Dallas. They're going to give me the most money. And then, just like in Brooklyn, I know it took a while, I am then in January going to go, I don't want to be here. I don't want to play with Luka. Nothing against Dallas, nothing against this. I just want to be in a different place. So he gets his money, and then in the NBA, when you say you don't want to play there anymore, you don't have to play there anymore.
Yeah. No.
So that's what scares me about the Kyrie situation.
We don't have to get anything good back either. If we did a
if he chooses the Clippers, and they're like, all right, we'll give you Shlomo Glitstein and Dwight Powell back.
Do you have any trade power in that conversation?
Well, I mean, just look at what just happened with Jalen Brunson, because the Mavericks, the one mistake they did make is just assuming that the Knicks wouldn't be able to get off the money to make it work. They were like, that's fine, but the Knicks have to come to us to make it work. And then all of a sudden, in the span of 24 hours, they made two different moves. You're like, holy crap. Yeah. And so they had the money. So the Clippers.
Detroit was like, yeah, we'll help you out.
Yeah,
guys.
No problem. You're like, oh, thanks a lot, Pistons. I know it'd be more difficult for the Clippers just because of the high money that they do have, but there are things that you can do, and all of a sudden, they're like, fine, we'll just sign him straight away, or you'll get into the sign and trade there, like Mike was just saying with Mr. Glitstein.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and that's like, I mean, just look at the Anthony Davis trade. Did New Orleans get something good back? They did. They got Brandon Ingram. Like, they got a pretty good group back. There's no promise that that's going to happen again, though, for the Mavericks, and that's the concern for me.
Sure, you're definitely right about that.
But maybe we were able to find players that can play with Luka, because nobody else can.
And see, that's the thing. It's superstar players that you're having the issue with thus far. Because, like, with all due respect to what he said the other day, Tim Hardaway Jr. became far more usable with Luka Doncic. Dwight Powell is far more usable, except in the playoffs, because of Luka. So, like, I dispute the idea that people can't play with Luka. The issue that you run into is the superstars. We have had a difficult time with the superstar pairings with Luka. That I'll concede all day. But just players in general, he doesn't make anybody better. I dispute that.
We've only tried twice, though. You know, we've only tried twice.
Well, and the thing is, too, is let's be honest here. Tim Hardaway Jr., there's not a team in the NBA that wants that player. Like, literally.
For that money,
yeah. Like, they'd be like, yeah, if he's making $10 million, he makes more sense because we're going to bring him off the bench as a streak shooter for anywhere from 3 minutes to 30 minutes a night. And because he's such a bad shooter, as in consistent, some nights he's going to play 3 minutes. Some nights he's going to play 30 minutes because he's on fire. Nobody wanted Christian Wood. They tried so hard to trade those two guys, according to multiple sources, throughout. After they traded for Kyrie, the reason they did it so quickly is they needed time to move off of Hardaway Jr. and Christian Wood to add pieces that made more sense around a Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic run in this year's playoffs. And unfortunately, for about 4 days, they called 29 teams, and 29 teams said, we don't want that guy. We don't want those guys. We don't want any of your guys. You have nothing left we want. You do have draft picks.
Yeah.
So the one thing is there was a couple teams that looked at the Mavs and said, hey, you guys have two future draft picks you can trade to us, 2 first-rounders. We'll take 2 of your first-rounders for this role player. Like, dude, we are screwed. We need those draft picks. We're not trading for role players with those draft picks. We're trying to unload players we don't want. And they're like, guess what? You don't want them? We don't want them.
Yeah.
So he's literally playing with 12 guys on a roster that teams don't even want.
For the price points. I'm with you for sure.
Well, nobody wants Frankie Smokes, and we play his ass.
Okay.
Nobody wants Justin Holiday.
I agree with
that. We picked him up. The Atlanta Hawks have the same record as us, and they released a dude, and we're like playing him 25 minutes
and they needed wing guys.
Just because I guess they want his brother somehow.